So there's a freight train in front of me, and these tanker cars are coming through. Let's back it out away from the lights. But do they space out the tanker cars based on chemical content, making sure that certain chemicals are not mixed next to other chemicals? Or these container cars that contain coal or other material, these cars are not box cars, but these are to move raw materials like coal and so on. And you don't want the tanker cars near the material cars, and you don't want certain materials next to each other, because if there's an accident, the materials mix. But also with the tanker cars, if certain ones are next to each other, they break open, the chemicals interact. So if you have ammonia next to bleach and you mix them together, the tanker cars burst open, then you get ammonia bleach, but I forget what the chemical is. It's a toxic chemical. So separately, they are toxic, but together ammonia and bleach are highly toxic. So again, I don't know how they space these cars out for safety with the content of the material cars compared to the tanker cars, compared to the container cars or box cars. So yes, they put them all together, but maybe they shouldn't put them together. And you have a tanker car, and then so many box cars, then material cars, then so many box cars, and you don't put them together this way. And the train would handle better, because you have different densities of loads the way they're doing it. And they're all together. That causes a handling problem or a stability problem in turns. But if you break up from denser to lighter and you integrate denser to lighter, the train will handle better around curves, going up slopes. Truly, because you won't have a very heavy load at the back of the train, which they did, because, they could have been carrying iron ore in those material cars. And the iron ore is incredibly heavy, and it's at the back of the train. So when the train is trying to go uphill, that gravity at the tail being so heavy of the train, it makes it hard to go uphill. So usually you want the heavier loads closer to the engine and the lighter loads further from the engine. But you integrate. And so you break it up for safety. So you have some container cars, some box cars, some raw material cars. And you integrate it to spread out the weight, the load factor, so it's more evenly spread out across the train, and the average weight is more evenly dispersed. And then for safety, because you're integrating so you don't have too many container cars together or tanker cars together. So when the train brakes, all the tanker cars go bashing into each other, and what happens? They all say break open. So you have 10 fluid cars or container cars carrying hydrogen peroxide or whatever, and they're all stacked together, and the train crashes and those containers hit each other, boom, 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 boom. But if you had box cars And material cars, between the container cars, when they crashed, they'd actually have a buffer and hit something softer, like the box car. Now, the material car is a little bit heavier, but it's not chemical. As long as the liquid that's in the container doesn't cause an activation when it mixes with the material car, cause some type of reaction that causes poisonous fumes or combustion or whatever. So you have to make sure the material cars you put next to the right type of liquids that they're carrying in those. And then you have the box cars, and then, yeah, the material in the box car does matter. But also the box cars are going to be softer because the stuff is less dense inside of them, usually. And so, again, you're evening out the weight and you're restructuring the loads for safety. So they have to rethink how they haul commercial trains. They're not doing it correctly for safety. And so I'll put this video on YouTube and put a link.